I knew this was going to happen.
Fair enough.
It only takes a countdown for us to get excited, right? Well, good morning, Kathleen. It's good to see you.
Morning,
Oh,
Lena.
man. How's that going? You are in, I always do this wrong, Lincoln,
Omaha,
Indiana,
Omaha, Nebraska.
somewhere in the Nebraska.
Right
Yeah,
smack in the middle of the country.
right smack in the middle. Yeah,
Right,
the flatlands, right?
pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. It's so good to see you. It's nice to be with someone on the same time zone too.
You know.
Less math. Sure. Yeah. I heard a rumor about you. Well, actually, I know this is true. You are known in the Des Moines area, in the Indian community, by a certain tagline. What is that?
So when I first met our Indian neighbors, they moved across the street from us, and I walked over and introduced myself, brought cookies and everything. And whenever we've moved somewhere, I give a brief synopsis of who we are. And I'm like, I have 3 boys, 2 dogs, 1 husband. And for some reason, it stuck with them, like completely stuck. So now I'm still introduced. I went to a party, a graduation party, a few months ago, and they're like, "It's our 321 friend." I'm like, I'm still 3 boys, 2 dogs, 1 husband. So the dogs have kind of changed it up a little bit over the last 15 years, but yeah.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. That's not a bad reputation to have in front of you
No,
for sure.
no.
Yeah, yeah.
My
Especially
husband
with
likes one husband.
with what?
My husband likes the just 1 husband.
You know, we're in Omaha. There's that. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Hey, you know what? I had to talk to you because we hadn't talked in a while, and conflict. Oh my goodness. I neglected to get your bio. And so I would really love if you just give me a little quick background, give our viewers a quick background on you, and how did you get into conflict coaching and mediation?
So, all right. Let's see, I've been consulting now for about 24 years. When I had my oldest son, I decided to stay home and start doing contract work and consulting. Been able to move around the country with it. A lot of what I was doing was working with companies and doing special projects and figuring out they weren't able to get their special projects done, and they had to hire me because there was something going on internally. And you start seeing conflicts, and I was starting to help them solve and work through those conflicts. When we moved here, I decided, you know what, we're just going to formalize this a little bit. So I got trained as a mediator. And then I also do elder care mediation, which is a little bit different, but most of what I do is corporate mediation. So working with dysfunctional teams. The part I do best is working with CEO and C-level staff on how to deal with conflict internally, because it's very difficult to teach someone at a low level how to do conflict well if their supervisors don't do conflict well. So it's a process that really needs to start from the top down. And I wind up doing coaching on how to have direct communication, how to have effective communication that keeps conflict at a minimum. Conflict is not a bad word. We have conflict in every aspect of our days. It's just how you handle it and how you let it affect you in your workspace. So I've one of my things, I love it when I go into companies and they're like, "Oh, we're such a family environment." I'm like, okay, hold on. That's not a good thing. Families are very dysfunctional, and that's, I bring in the elder care mediation part with that. That's where I work with those dysfunctional families as older adults are having to make some very difficult decisions.
Mm.
Every single family is so very different. So when you say you're a family company, people don't assume it's the, Ozzie and Harriet. They assume it's their family, which means they subconsciously bring in every dysfunction from their family into the
Wow.
so I work with a lot of people on, let's set some boundaries. If you say we're a family, you need to be very clear and define what does that mean. Because otherwise people are like, well, sure, my family, my sisters and I hate each other, or we scream, or it's politics, or whatever it is that they bring in.
Yeah.
And you start seeing those patterns happening at work.
Oh, wow. That you must have seen some things with that. Do you have a worst story with that? Like what?
Probably. So I don't know if it's the worst one. That's just it. Every time I go into places, people are like, "We're so bad. We're so dysfunctional." I'm like, you're kind of normal. Everyone
Oh,
always assumes that their dysfunction is absolutely the worst because they've already talked themselves into this. We're never going to get along. I'm going to leave, or we're never going to get along. I'm going to fire this person. We're just dysfunctional and it's not going to work. And I have to tell people, I'm like, this level of dysfunction is everywhere. So it's just a different shape, a different form, different people. Running away from it doesn't actually solve it. One of my CEOs that I worked with was very concerned about appearing mean or being unable to tell the people who he employed that they were doing things wrong. And someone cost almost $1 million. And he said he gave him feedback in such a way, and like, you just told him that it's okay, it's no big deal. And he's like, well, no, I said, this is what happened and it's not good. And I said, but then you complimented him over and over and over again to make him feel good because you're afraid of being perceived as the bad guy. I said, we have to get over this notion that everyone always has to feel safe and happy. If you screw up, people need to own it, and people can't own it if you don't tell them. And so that was a really like almost $1 million. Like, your company can't do that, and you might. A lot of times, what happens is people are trying very hard to save employees.
mm-hmm.
They've kind of bought into this thing that it's very expensive to replace people. Well, it's true, but a toxic personality will destroy your company because you focus all on that one. So unfortunately, some of the times I go in and what I'm doing most is saying, okay, if this toxic person can't be worked with, if they're not willing to change and modify, and I usually wind up working with that person as well, like, you have to make hard choices for the good of the company to keep everyone here employed. It can't just be about that one person. And so people get very myopic, and that's why I'm beneficial. I bring a third party outside. I have no ties. I'm getting paid regardless.
Right.
So what I say, and I've gotten feedback that I'm very direct, and they're like,
No.
good. Yeah, I know, right? Surprise. They're like, it's good, but it takes people by surprise to get honest, direct feedback without emotion, because people, and that's just it. That's the other thing is, the emotional. So teaching people those techniques of how do you remove emotion and get your point across in a clear, concise way so that they understand what's happening and understand the ramifications of what they're doing or not doing.
Wow.
So I love it. It's like figuring out a puzzle every time I go in, but it's an emotional puzzle with all sorts of things, but you can see patterns that happen in virtually every industry.
Wow. Wow. That's fantastic. And sounds like a quite challenging, I would imagine.
It is. Yeah.
What about this makes me think about sales and in operations, and something that I hear kind of repetitively, in sales organizations, no matter what form of sales, service, product, or people, it's that a lot of times you'll find, definitely on the sales side, a potential toxic people because the organization doesn't want to, they don't want to get rid of a high producing salesperson nor chastise them for fear of losing them. So just interestingly enough, how do you manage that?
So, and that is actually, there are two sides to that. So, and one of my clients right now deals with that, because you can have a super high performer, and just by the effect of them being a super high performer, everyone who's not a super high performer, they're like, like this. It makes them feel bad. It makes them feel like, and it makes them have to work harder. There is a natural resistance to that. So they will be pulling this way. The high performer is pulling this way. Now, high performer could be a toxic person. You don't know that, but you can't always assume that just because they're a high performer and they're pushing the organization, that they're the ones doing wrong. Sometimes it's a matter of you're setting expectations differently, and now people have to change how they do things, and is pointing out that they may not be performing at that high of a level. And so, have somebody who's shooting up and trying to pull the company up with them, then you've got those people saying, but I'm comfortable. I like the way things are going now. I enjoy this. So it's you have to get in and assess. And sometimes that high performer is toxic and they're doing things. So that's just it. If they are actually doing things that are toxic, if they're lying, if they are oh hi guys, if they're lying, if they're doing things to get a sale that are not ethical, there are things that they're doing. But if it's just the fact that they're succeeding and they're succeeding within the framework that they're supposed to, I've dealt with both sides where there's frustration from the high performing person, like, why am I being held back? I could drive this company, so far. And the other people are like, why are you pushing us to do so much more? We enjoy where we're at now. So there's always that push pull. So you really have to get in and assess, is this person toxic or are they just changing the expectations and everyone's having a hard time with it?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great viewpoint. I think, something to take in consideration for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would imagine too that this, when it correlates back to family, has to
Mhm.
be even more difficult working in the mediation with, the elder to the family resolutions. Then this is now there's no I can't imagine how to take emotion out of that except from your side, right?
It's exceptionally difficult because when and so the organizational I love, it challenges me, it's so much fun. The elder care mediation is kind of like that's my heart thing. It's like when you can help a family heal themselves before a parent passes away, it's incredibly powerful because there are some families that just disintegrate once that cog holding everybody together, they just kind of fall apart. So one of the things that you do is, because you're that outside person, I have people talk to me. The other thing is I write things down. I had a wall that was all whiteboard. I painted it whiteboard paint. It was
Mhm.
fabulous. So I could just have a whole wall. And when we talk, it's really important that everyone sees what they're hearing. Because when you hear something, it goes through a filter. It goes through the filter of their tone of voice, goes into your filter of what you interpret that tone of voice, and you have no other frame of reference. So people overlay what they think you mean when they're just hearing it. So if they hear it and they see it at the same time, it's much easier to get objective. So writing down everything that people are saying is very, very important, so that we can pick it apart and say, okay, let's look at just this one issue, whether it's who's taking mom to the doctor's office, whatever it is. When parents' health is threatened, kids turn into their worst 12-year-old selves. Absolutely. Like every fight you've had as a kid, mom likes you more, or you took my boyfriend, or whatever it is, people just they revert to that because they're scared, they're afraid, their parents are dying, they don't know what to do. I mean, it's just a ball of emotions that most people never tap into. And it comes out as anger, irritation with siblings, irritation with the older adult, denial. It comes out as just a big mass of bleh. And so getting people to talk through that is really powerful. My probably the one that stands out the most for me is I had a family with four sisters, one of whom was mentally ill and was not involved in the process of taking care of mom. One came home and lived with mom for 5 years and was taking care of her and doing everything, like lived two houses down. I mean, very close, but didn't take a salary, didn't do anything. Two others lived in a different town, in a different state, and could only come and visit. So you have that dynamic of, oh, mom looks great. Well, you're not here every day to see how mom is truly struggling. Or why aren't you doing this? Why are you telling me what to do when you're not? So we have that going on. They had an event, they were celebrating Christmas, and there was a fight. And so they didn't talk to each other for 4.5 months,
Wow.
right at the start of the pandemic. So then all of a sudden everything shut down. So you've got so many different emotions going on. You've got lockdowns, you've got the isolation, you've got we're worried about mom. The one who's staying and taking care of mom was like, if something happens, they're going to blame me forever. She's jealous that her two sisters had close relationships because they live very close to each other. And so she felt left out. Just so much going on. And we actually had the mediation here at my house. They all came. The girls came from Wisconsin, the one here had the mediation at my house because nothing was open. And it was beautiful. Within an hour, they had expressed to each other feelings they didn't know. They were prepared. And I talk with people ahead of time. So I do an interview ahead of time with each individual so I understand more of the scope of what's going on.
Sure.
Um, and they got it figured out. And within 3 hours, and that's unusual that it would happen, but everyone was at the point where they knew it had to happen. They had to have these conversations. They didn't have much time left with mom. So it was absolutely beautiful. That's the one that still just, when you can help people with that, it's pretty incredible.
Mm.
And
Mm.
they do things together now. And sorry, my dog is in the background. She's crying. I'm not giving her attention apparently, but it's really amazing because they healed the relationship before their mom left. So they didn't have to heal a relationship while they were grieving. They were able
Mm.
to grieve together then. So that's an incredibly powerful thing. And people forget that there's going to be an end. It doesn't, you don't have all the time in the world. So
Wow. Wow, that is powerful. Jason says that's awesome.
thank you.
Um, man, yeah, that is powerful. I can see where the heart side is, right?
I know
Um,
yeah. And
yeah,
and I feel that way about some of my CEOs I've coached is like when all of a sudden the light bulb switches and they realize, oh my gosh, number one, I have the ability to change. Number two, I'm not irretrievably broken, or this situation is not irretrievably
yeah.
broken. And they make little changes, and little
Mhm.
changes have huge ramifications. And it doesn't have to be, a huge process and plan, and where everybody has to read the book and then go through all sorts of, that those there's a place for that, but sometimes it's just making little changes and being more aware of how you do things. One of my greatest, so here's a tip for everybody: if you want to change your behavior, if you can identify what it is, and usually it's something that happens subconsciously and you don't know that you're doing it. And once we point it out, it's important to break the cycle. So I have people wear a rubber band. And anytime they engage in that behavior, whether it's self doubt, whether it's criticism, coming off to somebody too strong, or whatever it is, they
Mhm.
have to snap the rubber band.
Oh.
I mean, you do it just like that. I don't want people getting bruised. I don't want, be judicious, wear a rubber band, not cutting off your shirt. But it's just enough to make people remember, oh, I'm not supposed to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Or just, gosh, I had no idea how often I did that during the day.
Wow.
So that's one little behavior. The other behavior modification that I like better is when you do something positive, I want you to take. So I have people, you get a jar of candy, your favorite candy. Can't take it unless you get it into the other jar. And every time you do the right thing, every time you do that thing that you're trying to do, you move a candy into your take jar.
Mm.
So they visually see themselves filling up the take jar, and they can take it from that jar. They can't take it from the other one.
Oh, wow. That is great visual practices for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, man. This is rich. I know it's gonna be great, but this is fantastic. Wow, switching from the corporate, you know, conflict to,
It overlays a lot.
mediation and
People bring what their life is like into the corporation. And so if they're like it outside, they're going to bring it inside. If they have family dynamics outside, again, especially if you're labeling your company as a family oriented company, you're going to bring it inside. So usually a lot of the techniques I teach people, they're also using outside of the organization.
man, that is really, really helpful. I tell you what, you're gonna have to tell us how to get hold of you, and put your contact information in the chat. I'll be sure to, put, put a post together on this, but this is just unbelievable. We got to do a lunch and learn, on hype, and that was so much fun. I think we're gonna have to bring that back
That
and
was
talk about that too, because I thought we were gonna get to tag on that today, but we're out of time.
Are we done
So much
already?
fun. I
Oh,
know, isn't that
we
crazy?
were doing
Well,
for a lot longer. How,
I
how do I
know.
how do I put something in the chat?
Oh, just go down to the comments. Are you in
I think.
LinkedIn down in the comments in our live?
Oh no, I don't think I am.
Tell you what, I can help out here, and I can do this for you.
Here,
Did you find it?
I think I found it. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, yeah, put in your contact information. This is that's actually our chat. I'll fix
Oh,
that, Kathleen, right now. Yeah, we'll just do this. Um, I want y'all. Y'all know I can't do like 4 things at one time, let alone one. So give me a break here. Well, want to thank everybody that stopped by here this morning too. I told you I have great friends, supporters. Liz Kapantz, fantastic person out of New York that has an executive search firm. Katie Karlovitz, she's a skills consultant teaching speaking and all kinds of presentations. Tina Larson, co-op and condo board consultant, fantastic. All these people are my New Yorker friends. Jason
I
Hopper,
was
my
saying,
buddy out of Dallas. And I also saw Sean and Lisa Parker. I saw Sean Welsh and Lisa Parker this morning. Good morning, y'all. And no, I can't type at the same time. Can't do it, Kathleen. Let me put your email here. This is where we get funny and goofy. I'm surprised that I even remembered to turn on the live when we get to talking, but
right. All right. So I put myself in a private chat. Are
okay, I've
you
got it right now. I'm copying it into the comments right here. Oops, 86515. So okay, perfect. You are super fantastic. I think what you do is well needed. Hoping that you get more contacts from this because it definitely is not going away. If anything, it's got to have gotten worse from the past couple of years. Our feelings, understanding we have someone that we can bring in, third party, not a part of the whole conflict, and work it out, maybe come to resolution, maybe have an excellent ending before a tragedy or something bad. So
well, and
absolutely wonderful.
with everyone working from home or being isolated, and some people are coming back, people have kind of forgotten how to be around other people, and that's another problem that we're seeing is the reintegration is kind of tough.
That's yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but that's very true. And I hear stories about that from the work side and the worry side of job seekers and things. So it's an excellent point. Yeah, we have to really keep that in mind. Man, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna have you back again because this is just too good.
You have so
Yeah,
much to say.
yeah. Thank you so much, Kathleen.
I mean, I appreciate it.
Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll be talking soon. Thanks everybody for coming to this show, and we'll see you.
Bye.